This is Cree. Not just this sign, it's the entire woodland area. It's a small woodland area down here in Galloway Forest Park on its southern side. It's considered an ancient woodland and is under the protection of the RSPB currently, who have also designated it as a bird sanctuary. The thing with birds though is that they're quite shy, timid creatures at times, so you're not likely to see them while you're inside the bird sanctuary.
You are quite likely to hear them though.
Now, I have travelled here in both the best and the worst way possible. Now, if you're keeping up with me, then you might know I am an avid cyclist and I love to just ride anywhere and everywhere that I can. However, that's not the best way to get to here. Now, the road you can see behind me is actually Cycle Route 7. It runs all the way through the southern part of the woodlands here, so you would think it would be ideal to cycle here. However, the real gems of Cree are the walking trails, and there's no place to leave your bike. So to me, the ideal way to actually come and enjoy the walks here is to actually be in a car. Well, that was a good idea. Now, if you come down here, you might notice that the trees look a bit different from the rest in the forest park. That's because most of the trees inside the forest park are actually a variant of spruce tree. They use spruce because they're quick to grow, relatively. They're easy to cut down, relatively. And they make a lot of money selling off the wood, relatively. It's a perfect tree for it. Now, these trees are often grown in really dense clumps, like the one you can see behind me. Unfortunately, when these trees start to mature, they end up blocking most of the sunlight from hitting the ground, which stops most life from being able to grow up from there. The light being blocked actually has a knock-on effect, as it stops the trees being able to get enough sunlight down the bottom, and they actually sometimes even start to rot. On the trees behind me, you can actually see that a lot of the lower branches are just bare. It's almost like the tree's entirely dead, and that is because it's actually dying from the bottom up. You wouldn't actually know these are spruce trees unless you actually looked up coming down here. Cree, however, is considered an ancient woodland, which means that it survived in some form since about the 1750s in Scotland. It's the 1600s in England, Northern Ireland and Wales. They just had to be different. Before these times, it wasn't really common practice to plant large woodland reservations like we have today. So areas like this are actually closer to being what forests used to be like in the UK, before we cut them all down for the Industrial Revolution, and shipbuilding, and mining, and farming, and just general stripping the land of all its resources. But isn't it pretty? Since these trees have grown relatively naturally, they've got a lot more natural space among them, and it lets a lot more sunlight get all the way down to the forest floor, so all the fauna thrives. Which is a fancy way of saying that all the plants can grow freely, and there's a lot more moss, and it's a lot more green, and it's a lot more red and blue and pretty and lively. compared to the spruce trees. But these trees are not actually as old as you're probably thinking. This wood wasn't actually excluded from ye old cutting down times of yore, and in fact by the 1930s it was almost completely felled. But Cree, being the underdog champion of southern Scotland, wasn't having any of that, and decided to regenerate itself, which is what you're seeing today. The result of this is a young woodland with native trees, wildlife, and the fauna that goes all the way along with it.
And I've not even mentioned the waterfalls. Or the otters.
I don't have any footage of that.
Or even the deer in the area.
You probably won't see any deer. They're more skittish than the birds. Now again, I'm doing this via Cycle Route 7, which runs along through the edge of this woodland area. And it does give us quite a good idea of what the rest of the wood is like further afield. Or rather, a wood. That was genuinely quite bad, oh my god. But since I'm on my road bike and there's no real place to leave it securely, I'm afraid that's about it for this video. If you wanted to see more of the woods, you'll have to come see it yourself. Or you could pester me to come back here and do a walk. My god, it'll take a lot of pestering. Oh, at least 3 people. I can't imagine it. But yeah.
Toodle pip.